My name is Stephanie Yeung. I am an architect in New York City, currently located in Brooklyn. It is actually a storm right now. We're expecting at least 12 inches of snow, so 0.3 meters approximately. My conversion is not great. But I'm also a second-year master's student at the Harvard Graduate School of Design, pursuing a master's in design studies, focusing on art design and public domain. So it's interesting because being at the Graduate School of Design, I have Christophe Wojcicko as my area head director, and he's actually really good friends with Brendan. So casually, I'll see Brendan around campus. He was always a mysterious figure. He'll attend our classes quite a bit, but he just would be in the corner. And Christophe would just, after I think the third class, Christophe's like, wait, I should probably introduce who this person is because we know he's not in your class, but at the same time, he's a good colleague of mine. So he introduces Brendan. As the summer came closer, internships started getting canceled. A lot of things were unexpected. I was doing virtual learning, and Brendan was like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I'm still doing design HIJACK. Will you be interested? So I was like, absolutely. Let's just do it. There's what else is going on right now? It was strange. I definitely tried to err on the side of caution, especially because everything that was happening in New York City. It was a little bit hard to manage, just watching a lot of cases go up. There were a lot of deaths, whether it's related or not. The ambulances were constantly blaring up and down the streets in Brooklyn during that time. So I actually did do a lot of research in terms of which airlines provided what kind of safety precautions. Yeah, it was strange. I didn't know what to think much of it. But then when I landed in the Cancun airport, which I'd been to before, and I remember how Cancun airport was when I first came. It was very hustle bustle, a lot of people in their vacation gear somehow, and they're already wearing tropical floral patterns. And when I arrived this time in 2020, it was the same kind of energy, which I found was so strange. So I really felt like I was teleported to a different dimension, pre-2020, pre-COVID kind of situation. So it was a nice paradox of living in a world that was super cautious in New York City and then arriving in Cancun airport where it was less that and more so the world that I remembered. So within 6 hours, that was it. It felt like it had a lot of room for interpretation, which was nice about it. That was what made the program so enticing. And it was really interesting because I definitely had one perspective when I came and arrived, but then the more I spoke with my housemates and the fellow residents too, the more I became confused on what the actual program was. I was like, wait, hold on. But I realized it's because it was the beauty of the itinerary and the schedule that Brendan had laid out, that everyone just was able to imagine what they wanted it to be and believe that that was it. And it was kind of nice hearing 6 different perspectives on what they believed the program was. For me, it was definitely, I wasn't even sure if we were going to build anything, to be quite frank. Just because one, the time seemed insane. The schedule was definitely work build schedule. So, design build schedule, immediate. So the minute it's designed, is pushed to the factory. That was my interpretation of the schedule. So because of that, and also because as we were in the program too, even Brendan had mentioned that some people were like, oh, there's no way they're going to be able to build everything in this time frame. But so that was kind of my positive surprise that came from the schedule. I honestly thought we were just going to do charrettes throughout the entire 6-week program. So it was kind of nice. I've lived with many people before. I've even lived in a 400 square foot apartment in the Lower East Side with 6 people, and that was intense. But this was actually just even more interesting because it wasn't just 6 people, it was also the community that you're living with too. I mean, I felt like every day we had another creature just stumble into our house, which was incredibly fun. I think the first night we had this this 10-inch moth that just flew into the house. He was just chilling in the dining room, absolutely bothering no one. We were just oh, well, guess we're in Tulum. This is fine. And then the next day would be like a wolf spider, which is mistakenly for a tarantula that could jump about a foot high. So that was really fun. And then like every day there was geckos and lizards just inhabiting the space with us. I definitely brought home like a dog or two. So, and then we had like a neighborhood cat that would just come about. So it was nice. I think we all definitely bonded. We all learned a lot from each other. We're all from different backgrounds. So that in itself was just like an experience outside the program that I don't think any of us expected. That's interesting. It's hard to summarize because everyone that came to lecture, everyone that provided some kind of workshop, they were from different points in their lives for sure. They're from different backgrounds and they're from different practices. So all in all, it was a really interdisciplinary experience. It was a nice way to jog different elements and materials or forms that we can take on when approaching our work. I mean, Christoph's work, I never seen his early work, honestly. I mainly know him for his projection, so to see his like New York City projects was really different for me. And then Ava's work, knowing what she was currently working on with tackling the issues of like domestic violence in the portrayal of an art form or drawing form rather. And even like I'm thinking like people's architecture. It's really nice ways to consider how we can look at our environment in our current time, not just in a spatial practice, but in terms of what we are as a generation dealing with, societal or communal, and just think about how we can address those issues from there. So that'll be my summary. I think Brendan and Trevor were very there. They were very present. They definitely pushed us to not be comfortable, which was great because creativity only comes best when it's unexpected. When you're too comfortable, you kind of could predict what the outcome is going to be, and that's not creative. That's not a creative process. So I really appreciated that. Trevor being so far, he was really dedicated. Surprisingly, like he was available on WhatsApp, he was available on Zoom. He was in the middle of a move and he was able to just jump on a call with us, even though he was just like packing to move like 2 states away. I know it's a lot to ask to have more of those, because having one person so dedicated and Brendan like 200% there for us is a lot already. But I felt like that was fantastic to have them both so involved. In terms of the shop, I felt like it was kind of a nice relationship because it was like kind of had to prove yourself. That I definitely felt. I felt that like their layout was fantastic. They had so much equipment. It was just a matter of potential, and the shop was there to assist you, but they weren't going to be there to. They definitely weren't hand-holding. I'll give them that, and for great reasons for sure. They forced us to think about other materialities. They forced us to think about like, what if it was a found object? What if we used something that wasn't purchased or something that was more local, pushing us to think about something beyond what we would usually use in a typical like studio environment. So it was great to have all these different inputs. I mean, pretty cool that Jeannie was also like an architect turned video game designer turned shop fabricator. So great people around us. If there was an upshot to all of this, it is like I worked in architecture for 5 years professionally, 3 years licensed. And the one thing I really am disturbed by it is the timing and the amount of like codes that we have to bypass and the amount of like consultants we need to get involved to get something done. And if there's an upshot to all this, it's definitely that things can be done well as long as people are motivated. And this is definitely a passion-driven project, right? Like Brendan has intense passion, and then like Hermano and I wanted to get it done. Like there was no question if we were when we were going to finish. It wasn't about how so much as it was like we are going to get it done. It was just the procedure, like the mentality that we have to get it done. So I think it made us more independent and more responsible because we knew that a lot of it was on us. Like if we didn't dictate the schedule and if Brendan didn't help us, like there was no way. It would have been like other projects that would have I was thinking about New York projects for a second. I was like, a lot of the times because you're passing the buck so many times, things kind of get lost, things kind of get dropped, things get delayed. Whereas because we are such autonomous people in this situation, it taught us to be more responsible and independent on every facet of the project. Like if we didn't push to do shop drawings, if we didn't push to have spoken to Todd about lighting, if we didn't push to talk to the shop about possibilities, then I don't think it would have been done as quickly and as smoothly as it could have been. Like at first, I know Hermano and I were thinking about doing individual LED strips around each slinky ring, which after talking to Todd and after talking to the shop, we and Brendan was always looking for like a new material. We definitely thought to think about how we could be more efficient with it and really just understand our limits and understand the limits of everything around us too, to really get it finished. So that's my biggest upshot. They're two totally different animals. I'll say that. For the shortened version of it. Totally different. I'm in the course right now where they're trying to make it like Design Hijack, but across like a year. And I say that they're trying to make it like Design Hijack in the terms of like they have a funder to have us design and build this work and physically have it installed on Harvard campus somewhere. But honestly, with everything that's happening now, it's not going to happen. They're still not letting us back on campus. So that's kind of taken away from us. So a lot less reading in Design Hijack. It's a lot less reading. It's a lot warmer. No, it's just two totally different animals. I don't even know how I could begin. Like everything in college, everything in grad studies is just about reading and theorizing and research, consolidating that research first before you make the correct move, making sure that you're in the correct position to even make these kind of assessments. And that's not, I feel like that's just, sometimes it could be a burden. Like one, it's great to be well informed in terms of where you're building and how you affect people around you, if you're even in the right position to do it. Like, do you just come off as a like imperialist colonizer, or do you come off as someone who's within that community responding to a serious issue? And I think that like the Design Hijack kind of liberated me from that, because I'm always questioning those things, right? Like I'm a first generation American. I'm always questioning, am I actually an American, or am I actually from, you know, Hong Kong descent? And then Hong Kong nationality is a totally different thing too. That's a whole other animal. So let's not even get into that. But I'm always like bounded by these limitations that school has made us, one, thorough at, but also the time is inhibitive. So it's this Design Hijack, it's not about questioning all those things. It's about how we can actually respond in a moment's notice to benefit someone else's like general well-being or their daily life in a much like more involved way. So I don't think I can compare the two. I'm just gonna say what's different. I don't know. There was a time after the slinky was done, but before the bottom half was done. So the top half was like lifted and installed onto the roof. The light was there and everything. And then I think Hermano and I were looking for milk crates. So we decided to like get our bikes out. We like just finished breakfast, and I was like pointing at the floor. I'm like, oh look, there's like a grasshopper that was like in our house last night that we brought outside, and it looked like it may have not been the same grasshopper, but like there's a bunch of ants around it. And then I was like, look, the ants are all carrying this grasshopper, and there was like 40 ants, maybe 50, around this one tiny grasshopper. And then we were watching it carry this grasshopper, and they're like moving it towards the road, and we're like, huh, okay, that's pretty interesting. So we like let them walk first, and then we like move our bikes around it, and we left. And then we came back because it got a little too hot, and I think we were in the sun for like 4 hours at this point. So we came back, and we see these 50 ants carrying this grasshopper up the wall vertically. And then we like Hermano and I were just staring at it for a minute, and then all of a sudden Hermano says, and that's how we got the slinky up on the roof. Like, like he's watching all these ants with this grasshopper up a wall, and he's like, and that's how we got the slinky up on the roof. So I think like that the memory of like watching that grasshopper go up this wall, and the flashback to like watching all the men like carrying the slinky off the truck and up vertically, and that moment when the slinky kind of just like bounced back a little bit, and everyone was like, whoa, hold on, take a step back, like step down. That like those two parallel moments were one of my most vivid ones.